Hello everyone, this is Kevin at FinTrack Freedom, and these are my top 3 Canadian dividend ETFs. And today we're going to be talking about why they're my favorite 3 dividend Canadian ETFs. So these 3 ETFs are in no particular order in which one I like the most, but there is one that I definitely have a higher preference on, and we will touch base on that further in the video. So number 1 here on the list is the iShares S&P/TSX Canadian Dividend Aristocrats Index ETF, ticker symbol CDZ. Unlike the other 2 ETFs I'm going to be showing you guys today, this one here focuses on established companies that have increased their cash dividends every year for at least 5 consecutive years. So that's something we have to keep into account. All the ETFs we're going to be covering today are monthly dividend income payers. So CDZ is currently sitting at a 3.91% dividend and a 12-month trailing yield of 4.01%, which anything over 4% is pretty great in my opinion. One of the downsides to this ETF is that it has a management expense ratio of 0.66%, which is a little bit higher than what I would like. I try to keep my MER percentages below like 0.3%. All right, and here are the top 10 holdings in CDZ. Number 1, we have Aecon with 3%. Great West with 2.29% of the weighting, Chartwell with 2.28%, and as you can see, I'm not going to list all these out. You guys can pause this video here, but it's a very, very well diversified fund, whereas the other 2 I'll be covering are fairly heavily focused on financials, which if I do scroll down here, yes, we can see. So CDZ has 30% of the fund in financials, 11% in industrials, 10% energy, 10% real estate, 8% utilities, 8% materials, 7.6% communication, 7% consumer staples, 4% consumer discretionary, and 2% in healthcare. Overall, I would say that CDZ is the safest of the 3 ETFs I'll be covering today as far as dividend payments go, because they obviously restrict the holdings to established companies that need to have dividend growth for at least 5 consecutive years. So it is going to be a lot more stable, as in the dividend will probably stay very, very consistent. And the downside to this, obviously one of the downsides is the MER for myself. That's a little too high for me. Another downside could be that it won't have as much capital growth as the other 2. I would say the main reason why I don't have this ETF in my portfolio right now is because it doesn't have enough weighting in the big Canadian banks. I'm a very, very big believer in the Canadian banks, and I do believe that they will perform very well in the long term. So the only 30% in the financials doesn't do it for me, but I could see if you already owned, like, say you owned BNS or TD stock on their own, this could be a very, very good ETF to put in your portfolio. Before we get into the second ETF of the day, if you are enjoying this video, please consider leaving a like down below, subscribing, and hitting the bell icon to never miss a video. And also, if you're not already using Wealthsimple, you can sign up using my link in the description or use the code on screen for your chance to receive between $5 all the way up to $3,000 when you open and fund your account. The second dividend ETF of the day is the iShares S&P/TSX Composite High Dividend Index ETF and/or ticker symbol XEI. As I already mentioned, this pays a monthly dividend income. All the dividend ETFs today pay a monthly dividend, which is awesome. The dividend yield right now is paying 4.98%, and the 12-month trailing yield is 5.19%, which is the highest of the 3 we're covering today. XEI also offers a very, very reasonable management expense ratio of 0.22%, which is going to be the same as the last dividend ETF we covered today. Again, XEI has about 30% in the financials, same as CDZ, but this ETF has 30% in energy, 16% in utilities, 10% communication, 6% real estate, 2.5% materials, 2% consumer discretionary, 1% industrials, and just a bit of cash and a very, very little amount of healthcare. As for the top 10 holdings, you can see we got TD, Royal Bank, TELUS, Canadian Natural Resources, etc. And the weightings in this fund are a lot higher because I think there are overall a lot less holdings. XEI is a dividend ETF that I used to own in my portfolio, but I actually sold it off as well as all my bank stocks so I could move in to the next dividend ETF, which has a lot higher percentage in the financials. As I said with CDZ, if you already own a bunch of Canadian bank stocks, this one might be a better option than our last one that we're going to dive into in just a moment here. Dividend ETF number 3 of the day, VDY and or the Vanguard Canadian High Dividend Yield Index ETF is my favorite of the bunch just because it fits my portfolio the best. This might not fit your portfolio the best. You might find one of the other two to better fit your needs. But since I've already mentioned this one earlier in the video, I'm just going to scroll right down here. This one holds a lot higher percentage in the financials, 54%, which I'm very, very bullish on Canadian bank stocks. So I love seeing this high financial amount, and also a nice 27% in energy, 8% in telecommunications, 6% in utilities, 2.5% consumer discretionary, 1% basic materials, barely any in industrials or real estate. I kind of jumped the gun on this one because I was so excited to talk about it. But the MER on this ETF is also 0.22%. The 12-month yield is 4.84%. As for the top holdings in VDY, we have obviously a very high amount of market value in Royal Bank, TD, Enbridge, Canadian National Resources, Bank of Nova Scotia, Bank of Montreal. Like, look at the weighting of these bank stocks in here. Personally, I love that. But there are also 59 other holdings in here. So if you're like myself and you'd like to see a very high percentage of your dividend ETF being in Canadian bank stocks, VDY is definitely the one for you to go to. To sum these 3 ETFs up, I have a graphic up on the screen right now. I haven't edited the graphic yet, so I have no idea what it looks like, but it should have a nice comparison of the management expense ratios, the yield percentage, the amount of allocations in each sector, and so on. So hopefully this can help you kind of put all 3 together and see a better comparison all at once. The last thing we're going to do here is use one of my favorite tools called Portfolio Visualizer. I'll leave a link to this in the description. It's one of my favorite tools to use. But basically, as you can see here, you can set an initial amount, what year you want to start in, the contribution amount, which is $100 monthly with no rebalancing, reinvest dividends. Basically, we can take these 3 ETFs. So we got VDY, XEI, CDZ, and we make it 100% of the portfolio on all 3. And if we scroll down here, we can see how this stock would have grown your portfolio over, let's see here, since 2013 we got down here. So from 2013, we can see we started at $10,000, and we can see the growth over time, obviously adding $100 in each ETF over time. And then we come over here and we get the final amount. So after, looks like just over 10 years, Portfolio 1, which is VDY, would have grown $10,000 with $100 monthly contributions into $45,000. Portfolio 2, which is XEI, would have grown to $41,000, and CDZ would have grown to $39,500. Now, this is just a good tool to see what growth it has had. This obviously has no bearing on what the future will bring, but it can kind of give you a rough idea on how the market might perform with your fund. And we can see up here, Portfolio 1 VDY, its best year did 36% return, XEI did a 35%, and CDZ did a 26% return. And the worst year, VDY did -10%, XEI -14%, and CDZ -11%. I can't stress enough that this has no bearing on what the future will hold for these ETFs. So, alright everyone, that's going to do it for my video today. If you made it this far, please be sure to give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon too. And let's chat in the comments if you have any other ETFs that I may have missed, or if you have a personal favorite that is not on this list, or if your favorite's on this list, let me know in the comments down below. And other than that, I will see you all in my next video. This has been FinTrack Freedom, and I'll see you next time.